Hi everyone, it's Tony Tonkin here from the Child Protection Party. I just wanted to have a chat with you today about transparency, and it's become a particular concern for me because I have a couple of letters that came back from the Department of Child Protection in relation to some issues that we've had with regard to the treatment of children who are in care. I'm just going to read you out both these letters without the names of the clients involved, and you can tell me what you think. One of them says, "Dear Mr Tonkin, on behalf of the Minister for Education and Child Development, the Honourable Susan Close MP, thank you for your email dated the 27th of March 2017 on behalf of the client. Due to reasons of confidentiality, I am unable to provide specific details about this case. If the client is able to complete an authority to release information form, further details of the matter can be provided. Please find attached a copy of the form, and if the client has any concerns regarding the immediate safety and well-being of her child, please encourage to call the Child Abuse Report line." And the second one goes, and this was direct to Nadia in particular, "On behalf of the Minister for Education and Child Protection, Honourable Susan Close MP, thank you for your email dated 23rd of March 2017 on behalf of the client. Due to reasons of confidentiality, I'm unable to provide specific details about this case. However, please be assured that I have asked the Department of Child Protection to look into the matter on your behalf. If the client has concerns immediately regarding the safety and well-being of her son, please encourage her to call the Child Abuse Report line." So, both letters are basically the same. They're kind of like a template, and they're both saying, if you've got any further issues in regard to this complaint, please call the Child Report line. The issue is that we know that by contacting the Child Report line doesn't necessarily bring about a solution. It's just another process of recording a complaint, which of course many people do. Then that complaint goes to the department, and the people that are working with the case will say there's no specific complaint, and the matter gets dropped. So the issue that the parent has initially is kind of ignored, and we find that these letters are just a waste of time. So at the end of the day, we kind of wonder, well, I've done hundreds of these over the years, and I don't think on any occasion I can think of one that's actually brought about a significant result. That's not true. There was one where we did get an apology from the department, but 99.9% of them we receive this template, and we don't have anything to go with. We don't provide it with any information. Yet, on the other hand, there are occasions, and there are a number of those occasions, to be fair, where I find working with social workers can be positive. But what I wanted to say about that, I think, today is that even working with social workers who are good social workers who want to do the best thing by the children, and sometimes the parent, but not always, I find that those conversations are rather interesting because they're often not prepared to give the same degree of honesty and understandings, I guess, that I am. So one of the things that's important to the party is this sense of transparency. So in anything that we do, it is transparent. In anything that we negotiate or we talk about in relation to child protection and the department is also honest and transparent. So when I give feedback to social workers about the people that I'm working with, that feedback is honest, and I believe it's full of integrity, because it's about my perception of events, my perception of that person, my assessment of who they are and the struggles that they have. From the department, though, we get a different interpretation. We get what they think they need to let me know, which is often very limited, and what they think that I need to be able to tell them that's going to help their case. And I had an incident some months ago where I was just beginning to work with a client, and I said to the department, the issue that I'm having with this client is that at this particular point, she's not taking responsibility for what actually has happened in her life, and she finds it very difficult to articulate that. And so lo and behold, in a report that appeared a few months later, is me saying that that I believed that the client wasn't taking responsibility. The reality was that at that time, that was honest feedback, and that was the truth. But as I worked closer and closer with the client, I began to understand why she wasn't why she wasn't acknowledging what was happening in her life. Because as I worked closer with her, she did acknowledge the issues that sat in her life. The problem with her was that she didn't trust the department, and she didn't want to articulate how she was particularly feeling and what she observed when she was going through those particular circumstances, and how they had impacted her and how that impacted the children. And because she was failing not to talk about that. Of course, that was a problem for the department. But they didn't come back to me at a later date and say, look, you said this, a few months ago. Do you still think and believe that? And of course, my answer would have been no. I actually see it completely different now. I'd since written a report in which I had to declare that the statement they made in their report at the time was my version and it was accurate, but I have since changed my mind because I'd actually worked longer with the client and so on. Now, what that does is that makes you think, well, should I be transparent and should I be honest about where I am at any particular time with a client? And I believe that I should, because that's a standard that we have as a party, it's a standard I have as a social worker, and it's a standard that I believe the department should actually implement. But if I'm not doing it, if I'm going to be restricted in terms of what I say, then we're not living by our own standard. Now, and so I'm not going to change that necessarily. But what I have become aware of, and this has happened over many years, is I'm really wary as to what it is they want from me. So they're not very happy often when I justify why it is I take a particular view and that a child should be returned to a parent. They're really excited though when I decide that, in my view, it would be unwise for a child to be returned to a parent. And there are many times when I do just that, and then suddenly they're all on my side. And they want to know more and what I'm thinking and how I'm working with the client and what progress we are or we are not making when I hold those particular views. But when I decide to work with a client and I really like that client and I really believe in that client and I believe that they should have their kids returned to them, they seem to be less interested. And I want to make the point too that there are many social workers, I believe, who really do a really good job, and they do that. And within the department, that I'm aware of the limitations that they have in terms of what they can do, and I know that they are unable to work with the client as regularly as what I do. So I would, because I work therapeutic with clients, so I'd be working with somebody at least weekly minimum, and sometimes a couple of times a week, and lots of phone calls. And I have lots of questions and lots of things I need to know about them and their past and how that's impacted them and that sort of stuff. The department aren't interested in that sort of thing. And this is the point. The point is that the department and those people that work within that department should understand that it's about understanding the context in which someone lives their lives that is important. It's to know how someone has experienced life and how they are now is vital to help them to find ways to look at that past and to understand it, and then to work out what they can now do that is different. But if you don't understand the context in which someone has grown up, then you can't actually find ways to be able to help them move beyond where they are right now. Meaningful conversations just become less and less. You're just not going to have those sorts of conversations unless you know enough about a person to investigate their past. And I think that social workers would like to. I don't think that they have the time, the energy, or perhaps the skill in order to be able to do so. So it's important that we maintain a sense of transparency in the work that we do, that we work with clients in the way that we do, that we model that to people. And one of the things I think of when I'm talking to social workers is that this is a thing that you could be doing. I don't necessarily say that to them, but you could be actually looking at the same sort of stuff that I'm looking at. We're working with exactly the same people, but they don't have the time. Now, I've just finished collating and reading a report that goes for 57 pages. And I was thinking earlier on, if I was writing a report for 57, how long would that take me? Like, Christ. And I realised that, look, it takes minimum $10 minutes a page, right, to write. So 50, that's 570. So yeah, that's almost 10 hours. It's almost 10 hours of writing in this one report. And some of these people I know have between 20 and 30 cases. And I'm thinking, if they're writing a report for each of those, they don't have any time to sit down with the client and work through some of the issues that I'm able to work through. So I understand the complexities. And then I look at the report, and the report is just so negative about all the terrible things that this person has done. Nothing really about, so they'll talk about context, and they'll often talk about past, and they'll drag up stuff that happened years ago and other reports that have occurred in relation to this person and their own child protection issues in terms of being removed and so forth, or the involvement of child protection services. But they don't understand this in the context of where this has brought this person and what can be done to help them beyond where they are right now. And I find that extremely distressing, because our job is to be able to help people to move into a place which means they're going to care for their kids and themselves differently than they have before. And we're left with a wonderful opportunity at this point, when child protection services are involved, to help them to do this. Like, it is waving the big stick, I understand that. But the outcomes can be great for the kids and for their parents and for all the people that's associated with the family. It can be fantastic. But unless we find a way to be able to look at each case differently, and there will be some cases we'll put aside and say, well, we can't do anything with these people, like, they're not going to change, they're not changing at the moment, they won't change in the time frame, all that sort of stuff. And I understand that, and there are some people who won't, but there are a lot of people that will. But we miss out so often on this opportunity to be able to help those people move and shift their thinking around how they've been in the past and how they would actually like to be in the present and the future. And so I just wanted to make that point that, firstly, the department generally doesn't want to work with us, really. But there are social workers, some fabulous social workers who do. And I cherish the opportunities. If any of you are ever watching this video, I cherish the opportunities to work with you. It is often very enjoyable, because we actually make progress in terms of how, if we have a dialogue, we can make progress about how we're working along with these people. But then I meet social workers who are so entrenched in their negative thinking around a client that they cannot move beyond that. And that's crappy social work. That's not what we're about. But that is a way a lot of people are within the department. And we need to change that. We talk about what is it needs to change within the departments, all the things I've just mentioned, plus we need to change the mindset about how to work with people so that we can get better outcomes for them. And finally, I have a lot of people, I don't mention whether I mentioned another video before, but it just annoys me that people think that we're working for just the parent. Because we represent lots of parents, obviously, because kids can't contact us. Occasionally we do. Older kids, adolescents contact us and we work with them, but generally it is with the parents. And someone suggested that we would call the parent party, parent child protection party or something, and that's not what we're about. We are always about the kids, but we want the parents to be better parents so the kids can live with the parents, so that they can have a nice family unit that is functioning properly, so these kids have the best opportunity in life. But there are lots of times when we'll say no. We believe that at this particular point in time, the parent can't do the things that they need to do in order to get their kids back. It doesn't mean that we stop working with them, though. I'm happy to work with someone forever if there's a sign that we will be able to make the progress that we need. And that particular bank of parents are people that we need to change the legislation so that when they do, 5 or 6 years' time, when they do have their act together, they will be able to produce better outcomes for their kids, and that they should have their kids more included in their lives. And we are working so that we can have parents who can see more of their kids, not this separation that happens, when they first have the kids removed, they see them weekly, a couple of times a week, and then, once they go to a GOM18, it becomes more extended, and once a month, and, once every holidays, and and so on, and they don't see them at birthdays or Christmas. And, we want to do away with that sort of thinking in terms of it's significant that the way that biological families become more and more insignificant once they go to a GOM18. We still want to keep families connected. So I guess that's all I have to say at this point in this particular video. Look, if you like, check out more of our videos on YouTube. Just Google Child Protection Party under YouTube, and look at obviously our Facebook page and our web page, which is childprotectionparty.com.au. And if you can afford it, donate to us to help us so that we can get going in the March 18th election next year. Thanks for being with me. You take care. Nice being with you.